Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah. Welcome to another episode of Haqiqatjou, where we discuss religion and politics, the two least controversial subjects. As always, I'm your host, Daniel Haqiqatjou, and today we're going to talk about some recent trends on TikTok. I don't know if many of you are on this social media platform of TikTok. I'm not. I don't really use TikTok. I have an account, but I don't really post to it often. Because I just don't know the rules of the app, of that platform. It seems like many of the things I've posted get flagged or they get taken down. And so it's just a frustrating experience trying to use TikTok. And the algorithm or the feed that they have is just very disorienting. I don't know. It's like designed for people who have very low attention span, I guess, even more than like other social media platforms. It's like very disorienting for me when I use that app. So I tend not to use it. Anyway, there's a huge surge of feminism on the app. This new idea of pink Islam that has been pushed by a lot of these feminist Muslims. They claim to be Muslim. I think a lot of them are not actually Muslim. I think that this is a psyop. I think a lot of them are like actually ex-Muslims, like they're mortads, and they're pushing this idea of feminism to create doubts in the minds of impressionable young Muslims, both male and female. And they're really, and this is being driven by the algorithm in TikTok. So it's viral. It's a viral trend. And so we're going to react to some of these ideas, look at some of these videos, and the main culprits that are pushing this. And like I said, I think that this is a psyop, and I want to react to that, inshallah. I also want to react to some other things that have come up in this past week since our last show. Just different news items that I'll comment on. Overall, it's going to be a pretty chill stream. Not going to go in depth on any particular issue, other than just doing a reaction and giving my thoughts and feedback. Also looking at your comments. So if you want to prioritize your comment, you can submit a super chat, but I'll be looking at the chat, inshallah. And going to react to what you guys have to say as well. How's everyone doing? How's the heat? The summer heat. I don't know if you guys like the summer, but it's gotten really hot in Texas. And, it's always hot in the summer in Texas, but this year seems to be extra hot. So, and a lot of humidity where I'm from. So we get hot, humid, sticky weather. And yeah, I'm used to it, but we have good air conditioning, alhamdulillah, most places. So you won't be suffering that much. But if you go outside, even for 5 minutes, you're going to be soaking wet from the humidity. So you have to get inside, or you have to just deal with being soaking wet constantly in Texas weather. But yeah, that's what we're dealing with here. So anyone who hasn't subscribed to the YouTube channel, make sure to subscribe to our newsletter. It is linked in the description below. We send out a weekly newsletter once a week, and it summarizes everything that's been going on with MuslimSkeptic, the articles that we've been publishing, and also a book update. So I know some of you have been asking about how the book is coming along. I've spent the past few months working on this. It's a book on Rand. There hasn't been any book really published on Rand. If you don't know what Rand is, it's basically like the semi-official think tank of the U.S. government and the U.S. military in particular. Like, they advise the U.S. government on military strategy and also general U.S. policy, foreign policy especially, domestic policy as well. So they're the most important think tank basically in the United States in terms of how influential they are. And after 9/11, they developed a strategy for reforming Islam and basically making Muslim populations more compliant, more willing to accept U.S. influence, Zionist influence, more willing to accept kind of liberal, secular democracy. And they realized that if we're going to get Muslims to change and become liberalized, we have to actually liberalize Islam itself. And so they gave strategies for this, and in multiple books and published articles. And so there hasn't been like a full-blown analysis, a systematic analysis of Rand's recommendations, how those recommendations were implemented, in the past 20 years, how the U.S. government has actually implemented that policy, those strategy recommendations, and how they've actually been implemented within the Muslim world itself. There hasn't really been a systematic analysis of this, which is shocking, really, when you think about it. Like, given like this is something that affects the entire ummah, affects 2 billion Muslims, and no one has like actually written detailed analysis of what their strategy has been, what they want to do to reform Islam, like specific policies that they want to put in place, how that was actually dispersed across the Muslim world in different countries: Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Indonesia, Turkey, Pakistan, all these countries. Like that, none of that has really been systematically studied and put in a book, or really even like a serious in-depth article. Actually, this is a big failing, I think, or a big lack of intellectual commitment that Muslims have put towards such a huge psyop that has literally affected almost every Muslim country, and the religion of so many Muslims. So this is something what the book is about, and I finished the first draft, alhamdulillah. So I haven't been really posting content as frequently, but that doesn't mean I haven't been working. I finally finished the first draft. It's nearly 150,000 words. If you add up like the footnotes and appendices and everything, 150,000 words. And yeah, now I have to go through the editing process. I have to clean it up. I have to refine it and get it ready, for publication. So it's gonna be a while before it actually comes out. That whole process takes a while. And but I'm going to get more back into the swing of things, back into putting together content, videos, going back to some of the important projects, Al-Asna Institute, our courses, online courses. I have to revamp the entire institute, start putting out more classes, updating some of the courses that we already have. So there are a lot of things I'm excited to get back into, but it's just this project has to get done. And now, alhamdulillah, it's getting towards the tail end of it. So please make dua that I'm successful. I successfully complete the book and successfully get it out there, inshallah. Your duas are appreciated. Yeah, so that's an update on the book. So I've been looking at social media. Yesterday, I was shocked. I don't know if you guys saw this. Before we get into the main topic of today's show, but it was the flooding. The devastating flooding that has happened in Nepal, and some of the footage that has come through the CCTV cameras of these floods is just so shocking. And so I want to share that with you because it's a good reminder for us of many things. First of all, the power of Allah. But let me show you. Have you seen this video? Yeah, so look, this is a pretty big building. Like, this is how many stories? Like, this is a 5-story building, at least 6-story building or complex. I guess this is a train station. And this is in Nepal, so it's, in the mountains. And then you start seeing people are starting to run. Birds are starting to fly away. Then look at that, subhanallah. Like this, that's crazy. Like look at the water. Like it's completely engulfed this 6-story building. Like and it looks like it's even way higher than the building. So imagine like such a huge wall of water just comes and just blasts everything. SubhanAllah. Yeah, so it's complete devastation. And this is, the water is coming through because of some kind of glacial burst. Like it has to do with massive sheets of ice that are shifting and glacial lakes basically overflowing. And so this is just completely, there's no way to stop this. Like there's no technological way, you know, for all the technology that human beings are so arrogant about having. Like there's no way to stop this kind of devastation. Like this amount of water just crashing. Like what a video. Yeah, so hundreds are assumed to be dead. Hundreds and thousands more missing. So yeah, when a wall of water that high crashes on you, like there's no, just the water falling on you will break every single bone in your body. Will crush your body. It's like instant death. So even if you could swim and survive the, you know, being engulfed in that water, you're not going to be able to swim because your whole body will be crushed. Here's another video.
那人怎么可能？哎呀！
So there's like a bus station, I guess. You can see this building, 5 or 6 story building.
人傻呀！
People just running. Yeah, so look at that. Again, the huge wave of water. Yeah, so these are the kinds of things that remind you of the power of Allah. And when we read in the Quran how there have been these people who rejected the prophets, they rejected the message of Allah, the revelation, they disobeyed Allah, then Allah wiped them out. And it was just like one blast, you know, or just strong wind, and just completely devastating, like completely exterminating an entire people. Like you can see how it's very easy for Allah. Like just one small part of Allah's creation is so much bigger and more powerful than we are. We're just, look at like tiny ants on this planet, and a hurricane, like a very big hurricane, this kind of flooding, earthquakes, fires that are spread by wind. These are just terrestrial things on this earth that can completely wipe out civilization. So just a reminder of how, like with all of the, because so much of modern media and education gives you the message that human beings are powerful. Like human beings are developing AI, developing new rocket technology, new kind of nuclear powered power plants, and all of these major engineering projects, especially if you like follow someone like Elon Musk. He wants to send us to Mars, go on the moon, like build the largest uh, rocket producing factory or electric cars or whatever at enormous scales. And it's like human triumphalism. We are the latest, the greatest, the most powerful. And we are dominating nature. We are dominating this world with our intelligence. And the simplest thing can just completely wipe us away. You know, the simplest kind of thing, like a rock, you know, just like a kind of asteroid that is not even a mile wide. If it were to slam into the earth, that would be a mass extinction event. Like no one would survive that. Like literally an asteroid is just a rock. It's just a rock that's less than a mile in diameter, and it slams into the earth, and that's the end of the human race. That's all that it takes. Or like a particularly powerful like solar flare from the sun has the potential to do like, you know, mass extinction on Earth, completely destroy all our electronics. Basically, the electric grid will be completely vaporized with a particularly large solar flare. So these are things that are good to remember, not to make you depressed, but just to remind us the reality. The underlying reality is that we rely fully on Allah. We rely fully on our Creator to sustain us, to protect us, to preserve us. And we might feel like we're safe and comfortable and enjoying a stable life at any given moment. But that's an illusion. Like, that is an illusion. The only reason that we're able to enjoy a stable, comfortable life is by Allah's permission. Allah is the one who is at every single moment sustaining us. And anytime that He wills, and His protection is not there, that's it. Like, we're going to be wiped out, and there's nothing that we can do about it or anyone else can do about it. That's the power of Allah. So like something like water, like flowing water in just one region, like such a small creation of Allah can do that kind of damage. Imagine, like, by the permission of Allah, imagine like the bigger kinds of creations that Allah has. It's just mind-boggling. So yeah, that's just a reminder that I want to share with you. Okay, so let's look at this pink Islam. Okay, and it is kufr. Like this is kufr to like deliberately change Islam, to deliberately like create something and add to it. Like it is something that is kufr. Like that is as clear-cut disbelief as you can get. And they say it like openly. They say it openly, like this is a new version of Islam. And so let's look at some of the videos on this. So here's a summary video. Let's move that to the center. Whoops. Okay, so these are different distinctions that they're making. I don't even understand, like pink cherry Islam versus pink Islam. Okay, I don't understand what's the distinction. This is like a slide presentation. Okay, our principles. Quran first. The Quran is complete and sufficient. Justice over tradition. We reject any hadith that promotes gender injustice. Okay, so they're hadith rejectors. Women centered. We center women's voices, experiences, and leadership. Okay, so you already know it's going to be a failure. With women's leadership. Accountability for men. Men are accountable for their actions and character. Okay, for their, what is that word being covered? I can't even see it. I hate TikTok. I hate TikTok. So The Quran is complete and sufficient. Okay. Who says that the Quran by itself is sufficient without the Sunnah? There's a standard deviance, okay, that we've seen many times from Hadith rejectors. And the thing about Hadith rejection, you know, I've debated them in the past, like people who are going to reject Hadith, and it's always because of some kind of commitment to liberalism, to feminism. Oh, the Hadith, like there's this Hadith, and it is promoting something that's illiberal, like it has slavery in it. The Hadith has slavery. Okay, or the Hadith is talking about the hudud punishments, or the Hadith is talking about, you know, something that contradicts our liberal, secular, democratic sensibilities. They reject Hadith. And the problem with that reasoning is that all of those things that you find problematic in Hadith, they're also in the Quran. Slavery is also in the Quran. Okay, slavery, concubines, that's also in the Quran. The hudud are also in the Quran. Lashing the zani, the fornicator, lashing the fornicator, chopping the hand, these are also in the Quran. So if you're trying to stick to your liberal secularism, and that's your motivation for rejecting these hadith, you have to also reject the Quran. You also, by that same basis, have to reject the Quran. And then when you point that out, they get extremely angry. They get extremely angry, and then they start these kinds of fantastical, far-fetched, bizarre hermeneutical gymnastics, like mental gymnastics, to try to bend themselves and reinterpreting the Quran. Oh no, that doesn't mean slavery. Or oh no, and it says, you know, lash the zani, like lash them, that means something else. Like, okay, what does it mean? So this is why this is such a idiotic type of basis for rejecting hadith. Okay, so let's see what else they have to say. Pink Cherry Islam is a sect within Islam that favors the women over the men. It's built on justice, compassion, and reversing centuries of misogynistic interpretations. Centuries. Okay. Favoring women over men. Okay, so this is their idea. Islam has been favoring, like, patriarchal Islam has been favoring the men over the women. So now we're going to reverse that. We're going to reverse that. Now we're going to favor the women over the men. This sect is derived from the Quranic verse, وَلَيْسَ ذَكَرُ كَالْأُنْثَى. Okay, and the male is not like the female. Okay, so this verse means that we have to reject hadith. This verse acknowledges that men and women are not the same. Pink Cherry Islam takes this truth and applies it by reversing the harmful, unfair gender biases found in many misogynistic hadith. Okay. Instead of women being deficient in faith, intellect, or leadership, it is men who are held accountable for deficiency in these areas. Okay, so the hadith, like, that has driven these women insane is, and maybe simps as well, because I don't know if it's just women who support this trash, is the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ that describes women as being deficient in aql, meaning like their rational faculties, and their deen as well. And also the hadith, Sahih hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, that no nation will succeed that appoints a woman in charge of its affairs to lead its affairs. So these are the hadith that have turned these women insane to become hadith rejectors and to fall into this kind of kufr. Okay, so we reverse the narrative. The misogynistic hadiths, women are deficient in religion, But the reversal of pink cherry Islam is that men are deficient in religion. Women are easily influenced. No, it's men who are easily influenced. Women are the source of fitna. No, it's men who are the source of the fitna. Women need male guardianship. No, men need female guardianship. Okay, so this is not even like very sophisticated. Like they're just trying to mirror standard positions in Islam. Okay, and so I don't get like what's the intellectual basis for this. Like it's hard for me to understand, like, and maybe that's my problem. Like maybe I'm trying to think too hard about, you know, what is the foundation of this type of mindset. Like these are women who just have no clue, obviously, about Islam itself, because it's not just one or two hadith like that are misogynistic according to your understanding. Like many ayat of the Quran, okay, many verses of the Quran would be misogynistic under that criteria that you have. So you'd have to reject the Quran as well. Like you'd have to reject the practices of the Prophet ﷺ. You'd have to reject like many aspects of the Prophet ﷺ's seerah. You'd have to deny like so much of the Prophet ﷺ's seerah. The fact that he had like multiple wives. He had multiple wives, okay, 11 wives or 12 wives, and concubines as well. So you're going to reject that. Were there any of the Sahabiyat? Were there any women around him that were allowed to have multiple husbands? No. So that's the Prophet ﷺ. You have to reject the Prophet himself, ﷺ. And I bet some of them do. I bet some of them, they're just being kind of led along to reach that ultimate conclusion by this psyop. Also, like these things are not just from hadith. Like that's the other thing. Like when it comes to the intellect or the rational faculties of women compared to men, obviously men are superior when it comes to rational capability. Like this is something that is empirically proven, empirically established, even if you don't want to take your anecdotal experience with this, which is sufficient, by the way, just based on people's experience. Like it's pretty clear, like the people who are the most rational in your particular life, even, they tend to be guys. They tend to be men. That doesn't mean that you'll never find any woman who is not more rational than a man. But if you compare populations, if you compare the demographics of men versus women, and then you take like however you want to quantify rational ability, maybe you want to quantify it through IQ, maybe you want to quantify it in another way, but you do the comparison of those two populations, and the men are going to have higher average IQ. They're going to have a higher average. That doesn't mean that every single man is more rational or has a higher IQ than every single woman, but it means on average, this is the case. And at the end of the bell curve, and in terms of the highest IQ, you're going to have more men than women. This is an empirical fact. It's something that feminism has to deny and liberalism has to deny. This is why the claim that liberalism is like more scientific compared to Islam, this is false. Okay, as far as this example is concerned, like the empirical evidence supports the hadith. The hadith saying that women are deficient in their aql, that's supported by the empirical evidence. The liberal feminist position that no, men and women are equal in terms of their intelligence, this has been debunked. This has been completely debunked by empirical evidence. And similarly about how women are easily influenced, like this is just a function of their biology. Like this is a function of the female biology and certain hormones that they have higher hormones in terms of estrogen, higher levels of estrogen. They have higher or lower levels of testosterone. that makes them more easily influenced to social influence. Again, like this is something you can go look at empirical studies to prove this, or you can just look at anecdotally, like in your own life. Men tend to be more sociopathic. They tend to be like, which is a bad thing in certain situations, in certain contexts, but to say that women are easily influenced compared to men, like that's just an empirical fact. So how can you deny it? Women are a source of fitna. Again, like this is something that is obvious. Like women in terms of their men, in terms of men being more physically attracted in terms of what they see visually compared to women. Women are not as attracted by physical appearances as men are. Does anyone deny that? That doesn't mean that women don't find, like, they're not attracted to physical characteristics at all. Yeah, they do have. That is a component of female attraction, but it's just not as high as men. So how can you deny that? Like, again, an empirical fact. Women need male guardianship. Again, this is, and I had an entire debate with a feminist, like with a Pakistani feminist on this question. Like, do women actually need male guardians? And I gave an elaborate argument, like based that was grounded in empirical fact that women do not have the same planning capabilities as men. Like, again, studies have shown that their ability to long-term plan is deficient compared to men. Women tend to be more influenced by high emotions. That's an empirical fact with many psychological studies to back it up. So given that, and given the fact that women are physically weaker than men, and women are hypergamous in that they want to be led by men, that all of those factors combined give you the conclusion that women need male guardianship as opposed to the other way around. So it's not like it's hadith that are misogynistic. It's like reality is misogynistic. Like reality is misogynistic in that all of these things that they're listing as finding problematic with hadith, this is just problematic in human nature. This is just the way that Allah has created human beings and the two different genders. And if you have a problem with that, then you have a problem with creation, you have a problem with Allah, then you're going to leave Islam entirely. It doesn't end with just rejecting hadith. You're eventually going to reject Islam as a whole. But you also have to reject reality, because all of the empirical evidence that I can cite for these points, like, they're written by non-Muslims. Like, this is research from non-Muslim psychologists. You have to reject psychology. You have to reject the modern discipline of psychology and empirical research into human behavior. So pink Islam, yeah, pink Islam has to be like a rejection of modern psychology, modern, like, empirical studies. Just doesn't end with hadith. Our goal to restore balance, dignity, and honor to women in Islam by acting retarded. We're not here to separate, but to correct. Justice tastes sweeter than cherry blossoms. Yeah, cherry blossoms aren't sweet, idiot. Cherry blossoms are not sweet. Cherries are sweet and sour, but the cherry blossoms, that's not the fruit that you eat. It's they don't have a sweet taste. Okay, so let's look at some of the other. Look at this KUFR. Remember, the difference between a witch and a prophet is one is a woman while the other is a man. So comparing the Anbiya to witches. Okay. So, and you can see hashtag ex-Muslim. So, like, this entire space on TikTok is infiltrated by these ex-Muslims, by these women who they're either ex-Muslim or they're openly ex-Muslim or they're pretending to be Muslim while in fact they are ex-Muslims. And the feed, like, if you're following the Muslim ones, you're going to get the ex-Muslims at the same time, who just take things a step further and just are edging like the Muslim girls into more and more KUFR. So this is like a disaster. Like, this is just shocking, the kinds of things that you're seeing. And then the comments are all a lot of these Muslim girls, young Muslim girls, teenage Muslim girls, that they fall for this. Like, they fully agree with this stuff. So here is an example. Mufti Cheesecake blurred it for me.
By the way, Pink Cherry Islam was a prank. It's...
Wait, can you hear that? Hold on.
By the way, Pink Cherry Islam was a prank. It's literally a social experiment to show you guys that the same way you're bugging out and reacting to Pink Cherry Islam is what has been happening to Islam and the Quran and Hadith this whole time. But instead of it being catered towards women, it was being catered towards men. And y'all did not clock. Like, the fact that so many people had an outrage, and that's what's killing me, is the outrage. You guys have an outrage for it being catered towards women when that's what's been going on for centuries towards men. Are you, like... And really, like, let's just say it was for real, yeah? Let's say it was for real. I just can't even say it with a straight face. Okay, if someone has a certain belief, what the hell has it got to do with you, bro? Let's not talk about, oh, but we have a juice.
You know, so I see Sneeko in the chat. Sneeko once again saying that women are flowers. I'm sorry, man. Some women are flowers. Some women are flowers, but not this trash. Like, don't tell me you agree with this, Sneeko. So, like, this is... Yeah, Sneeko... Me and him, I think, disagree on some of these women. But, yeah, he's just joking. He's just joking. He's trolling.
Y'all did not clock. Like, the fact that so many people had an outrage, and that's what's killing me, is the outrage. You guys have an outrage for it being catered towards women when that's what's been going on for centuries towards men. Are you, like... And really, like, let's just say it was for real, yeah? Let's say it was for real. I just can't even say it with a straight face. Okay, if someone has a certain belief, what the hell has it got to do with you, bro? Let's not talk about, oh, but we have a juice here within Islam to talk about these things. Okay, there's so many bigger issues going on within our community than Pink Cherry. Deep the words, Pink Cherry Islam. Be for real. But anyway, I'm not even going to talk too much. I just want to say, like, guys, confirmation, this shit was a social experiment to show you guys what you're so outraged at. You should have that same energy towards what's been going on with Islam this entire time, because it's been catered towards men. You guys never clocked on. Actually, you internalized it. We all did. And you get onto people that are deconstructing and realizing, oh, this is what actually Islam is. And I'm not saying Islam is now Pink Cherry, but they have a point here. Islam is catered towards women. It enabled women with so much. It introduced so many rights for women. But how do we look at it today? As if, like, we can bend the rules when it comes to anything catered towards men, but when it comes to women, double, triple down on their shit. So when they came out with Pink Cherry, low-key they ate, because you guys literally showed, okay, no, we don't like when it's catered towards a gender. Okay, if you don't like that, then you shouldn't like where Islam is today. Because right now it's catered towards men. And I'll be real, I'm sorry, I'm gonna actually delete any comment that's just bullshit. The whole point of this is, cloak your own tea. Cloak your own tea. Stop coming for people about this stuff. Guys, by the way...
What does clock your own tea mean? I don't even understand the expressions that she's using. Clock your own tea? Is that like make your own tea? Clock your own tea. Okay. This is like a British thing. Like, maybe it's a British... from the UK. But yeah, so is what's interesting, like this whole dynamic to me. I mean, the one way that you can debunk all of this trash, like feminism in general, like I remember this is the kind of the argument that I would use when I was in college against feminism. Like this is how like simple it is to say, like this kind of argument. Like all of this recent outrage from women, like, oh, the hadith are misogynistic, oh, the hadith are so anti-woman, and Islam has been catered towards men. This entire critique that they have, why is this like exploding in popularity amongst themselves, amongst these women today, in this time, in contemporary times? Why weren't women of the previous generation keyed in on this? Why weren't the women, like, go to women 50 years ago, go to women 100 years ago, go to women 200 years ago? You don't see this kind of concern. They're not rejecting the hadith. And you don't even have to go to like the history books, just within your own family. Go talk to your grandma. Go talk to your grandmother. Some of you can even talk to your great-grandmother. Why isn't your great-grandmother angry about hadith? Or your grandmother angry about hadith? Or she's been practicing Islam for 80 years, maybe 90 years. Why aren't your family members, your female family members, so angry about the Islam-centered hadith or religion? So this is something, what this will tell you is that you have an option. You can say that, well, I guess my grandmother was an idiot. I guess my female grandmother was stupid because she didn't realize it. I realized it, but she didn't. That's what you're implying. You're implying that your female relatives of the previous generations were idiots, were stupid, like they were just sheep, like men could just manipulate them so easily. And only in our time, women of your generation had to come along and discovered the patriarchy, discover that, oh, these hadith are misogynistic, and oh, Islam is male catering to men, male centered. That's the implication. You're basically, isn't that like the misogynistic conclusion? That women throughout history were morons? Women throughout history were so stupid that it took them basically 1,400 years to realize that they've been under the yoke of patriarchal oppression? Isn't that the implication of your activism and your new pink Islam? Like, why didn't your grandmother come up with pink Islam? Why didn't your grandmother, your great-grandmother come up with pink Islam? I guess you're just so much smarter, right? They were content to be duped. They weren't rejecting these hadith. So explain that. Explain that, feminists. Sneeko says, how close are we to Dajjal's arrival, honestly? I mean, this is something that we know, that the biggest followers of Dajjal, or the biggest contingent of followers of Dajjal, are women. We know that. So you can see how it happens. Like, these women, they're easily influenced. And that's what's scary about social media, is that they are so easily influenced, especially by other women. And so it's like, the way that people have been describing it is social contagion. Like a virus, a mind virus that spreads so quickly amongst women, and social media just accelerates that. And this is how you're going to have, like, so many of the followers of the Antichrist are going to be women, as is mentioned in Hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So you can see exactly how this is going to take place, and it's very scary, especially with, Lindsay Clancy. Okay, here's another Sneeko's chat. Free Lindsay Clancy, Crisis King. So he's, this is a joke from Sneeko, but Lindsay Clancy, okay, the woman who murdered her 3 children, okay, her 3 very young children, and then attempted to commit suicide, whatever, okay, women have raised $1 million for her. $1 million. This is very scary because that kind of behavior, other women will see that, wow, look at all the attention this woman, Lindsay Clancy, is getting from killing her children. She's getting all this attention. And they're going to start mimicking that. They're going to start mimicking that. They're going to start harming their children. We're already seeing copycat type of behavior on TikTok. Like women are screaming at their kids, like just expressing this kind of frustration, animosity, and hatred towards their own children. It's going to escalate. That's going to escalate because of this kind of social virus phenomenon that spreads amongst women. That's why, yeah. So it's very depressing stuff. "10 years ago, it's bigoted to say pink is a female color, and now the name of their new female religion is Pink Islam." Yeah. Yes, they're owning it. Like this is the contradictions within feminism as well. Like some of the earliest feminists, they rejected male beauty standards. Like we're not going to worry about what men think about our looks. And so a lot of the intellectual feminists were just fat slobs. Like Andrea Dworkin, for example. She's Jewish too, by the way. Like just this fat slob lesbian. Okay, just discuss, because she rejects male beauty standards. But look at these TikTok feminists. They're just caked in makeup, literally getting plastic surgery. Like one of the most popular ones, okay, she looks like Skeletor because of the plastic surgery. She looks like Skeletor. Her nose is about to fall off. Okay, and she's extremely concerned about how she looks in front of men. These are the contradictions of the feminist movement. But yeah, so the pink cherry Islam. Here's another TikTok. Let me just pull it up. "Sheikha, my third husband went out without my permission yesterday. Should I be patient and discipline him, or is this grounds for divorce?" And then the sheikha says, "Men are illogical and fickle, deficient in intelligence, so we must be patient with them. Lightly beat him with a Huda Beauty lip liner pencil, avoiding the face. If he's still disobedient, divorce him by saying it 3 times." It's like, yeah, unironically, except the other way around. Like, unironically, except the other way around, actually. So they're just like making a mockery of like actual fiqh. Like the actual fiqh is like, if you had a third wife and she went out with permission, then yeah, you should be patient, but there needs to be consequences for that. Like unironically, but the other way around. So they're just making a joke of Islam. This is making a joke of Islam. This is a kind of kufr. The thing is that women would never, like, even the idea of a woman having 3 husbands is like so preposterous, because no woman can even support or would be willing to support one man. Okay, even think about it. Think about women just get whatever they want. We live in a world where women just get whatever they want. They wouldn't agree to these rules that men accept. A man accepts that, okay, if I'm going to have multiple wives, I'm going to be responsible for each one of them. I have to support each one of them, pay all their bills, pay their rent. Okay, any children that come from that marriage, I have to support. Like, men accept that. But women would never accept that. Women won't even support a man. One man, let alone multiple men. And there's a biological reason for that. Women biologically are revolted by the idea that she has to pay money to support a husband, to support a man. She's biologically revolted by that. And that's why the whole idea of like having a sugar mama never works. Okay, having a sugar mama where you're a man, like you're just like a male prostitute, and the woman, like a wealthier woman, like is supporting you, like those don't become lasting relationships. Okay? It's because it's inherently unstable. the woman recoils at the thought of financially supporting a man. Okay, they want to be taken care of by a stronger, wealthier man. Like, that's hypergamy. And that's part of human psychology and female behavior. So even like what they're describing, okay, lightly beat him with with a lip liner or whatever, a pencil. Again, it makes no biological sense. Like, you can't beat a man. Like, when he's bigger than you and stronger than you, you can't discipline him. So this doesn't work. Like, this is it's like, it's not funny because it's so unhinged from reality. They're not only contradicting Islam, like, that's my point. They're not only contradicting Islam, they're contradicting human nature. What if my husband is sick and can't fulfill my desire? Can I marry a second husband? Marry up to 4 more, and you don't need his permission either, because it's your right. If he complains, he's going to Jahannam. Yeah, unironically the other way. Okay. Unironically the other way. Shaykha, may I ask, what is the ruling on taking multiple husbands behind the back of my first husband? It's your right, and you do not need to ask permission from the first husband to exercise your right, sister. Again, like, they know the fiqh, like, they know the correct Islamic rulings, actually, but they just reverse it. Okay, they just reverse it. This is also a good reason why, like, unironically, like, we don't want a bunch of shaykhas. Like, there's a bunch of Muslims who, unfortunately, they're like, oh, we oppose women's education when it comes to secular education, but we're all for the Muslim women becoming shaykhas and going, like, to the madrasas and getting advanced degrees in fatwa and in fiqh and in tafsir. Like, we want more shaykhas, but we just are against women's education when it comes to secular education. Wrong. Wrong. Like, I'm against all female education, both secular and religious. The religious education is also a big problem, unfortunately, because when these women go into the madrasa and they get these advanced degrees or they get ijaza, that's empowering women. And the problem is with empowering women. When you empower women, she's going to start issuing fatwa, okay, making rulings to further empower women, to give women more resources, to give women more money. And we see this. We see that as soon as women start getting the ijazas, they start calling themselves shaykha. Okay, they like open up a website, they open up a social media account, Instagram. You know, the Instagram shaykhas. They immediately, all of their fatwa, all of their talks are about how we can empower women, give women more and more and more, take more, extract resources from the men and give it to the women. That's all their fiqh and their fatwa is about. How does that help the Muslim community? How does that help the Muslim community? And this is part of them having naqs, having deficiency in their intelligence, in their rational capabilities. This is part of it. The female sense of justice is extremely skewed compared to men. And this is, again, something that has been empirically established many times over in many studies. Okay, and you can see that I cite these in my debates. Okay, women's sense of justice, they are primarily looking out for the interests of their fellow women. Okay, this is similar to the women are wonderful effect. They prioritize the interests of women at the cost of men. Men don't do that. Men naturally, they are concerned about all parties involved. Men, women, children. Whereas women don't have this sense. Women don't have this sense of justice. And that's why, you know, for example, and this is another reason why, you know, with women being in charge of a nation, this is such a disaster, because they just are not going to be concerned with the weak. They're not going to be concerned with the poor. They're not going to be concerned about children that aren't biologically theirs. They don't have that sense of compassion. Again, this is something that has been empirically established. And this is part of the deficiency that women have. Whereas men, when men are in charge, they are more caring for the weak, the destitute. They're more caring of those who they are under their care. Why is it cut off? I have 4 husbands, but the third one is always so stubborn and won't cook or clean or even say yes at night when I want to go 7 rounds after the other 3 wives. What can I do? Divorce him and replace him. There are so many men who are taller and richer and more pure who will be grateful and obedient as a pious man should be. If you cannot find one, concubines are permissible and low maintenance. As for this disobedient husband, he will not even smell Jannah. So, yeah, unironically, but the other way. Unironically, but the other way. So, I mean, this is like a self-owns, basically. You're just giving men ideas. Like, you're just giving men ideas about, like, informing men about what actual Islamic fiqh is about. Shaykha, is my husband allowed to leave the house without my permission? And if he does, what's the punishment? Absolutely not. It is haram for a man to leave the house without a female mahram. Beat him lightly with a lip liner pencil if he continues this disobedience. Yeah, unironically, but the other way around. And I wouldn't use lip liner pencil. Might need something a little bit more serious. Let's just put it that way. So this is the kind of kufr or mockery of Islam that we see. So what causes this? I think the difference, like, feminism is obviously not new to just Generation Alpha or Generation Z, like the Zoomer generation. It's not new. But the previous generation of Muslim feminists were not this brazen. Okay, if you look at the Muslim feminists that are over 40, like these Muslim women, they're not this brazen. And I think the difference is that those Muslim women who are religious, like, they grew up going to the masajid, they grew up going to, like, Islamic classes or seminars, and the teachers, at least if we say like over 20 years ago, they would at least teach like some of these hadith. They would talk about the hadith of the deficiency in intelligence. They would talk about the hadith about women's leadership leading to destruction. They would talk about like these teachings of Islam. And they would do it like maybe slightly apologetically, but at least they would talk about it. At least these were actually discussed or they were mentioned. And so the women, the Muslim women who were practicing, who were religious, they might not have been comfortable with those hadith, but they accepted, like, this is just a part of Islam. This is a part of Islam that we accept. But what has happened is that you have so much of Islam now being taught online, and it's mainly through these compassionate imams. Compassionate imams, we know the names. They will teach Islam and they will excise. They will not mention these particular hadith at all. They won't mention the hadith at all. If they mention a particular ayah of the Quran that doesn't have like a feminist meaning, they will mistranslate it. Like they'll literally mistranslate the Quran. And so they have basically kept an entire generation of Muslim women in the dark about the basic Islamic rulings that are patriarchal, that do favor men. Because Islam is patriarchal. Okay? Islam is a patriarchal religion, meaning that men are in charge. Men are put in charge in authority over women. And that benefits everyone. That benefits men, it benefits women, it benefits children, it benefits all of society, because that's just the way that Allah has created humanity and the world. So patriarchy is part and parcel of Islam. And the Quran and the Hadith, they reflect that reality. Now you have compassionate imams who have gone viral, have become famous, have amassed millions of followers because of social media, and their whole strategy has been to carefully avoid or mistranslate any ayah of the Quran or any hadith that gives this patriarchal message. They just simply don't teach it. They don't explain it or teach it or even share that material. So you have an entire generation that's completely ignorant of that material. And then when you have other Muslims online, whether they're du'at like me or they're, just comments in the comment section or replies, then these women are shocked and they're offended. And they think that, well, this is clearly something that has just been added. Like, you've just added this, or it's been added by other men. This is not what true Islam is. I know what true Islam is. I heard it from Mufti Menk, or I heard it from Omar Suleiman, or I heard it from, One Path Network, or whatever these slop channels, these slop Dawah channels, okay? That's what Islam actually is. And what you're telling me clearly is something that has been invented, or it's extraneous, or it's something that has been used to put women down and favor men. That's the kind of phenomenology that we're seeing from these Muslim women. And they're crashing out. They're crashing out, and they are spewing this kind of kufr. And they don't even realize that it's kufr. The ones who aren't ex-Muslims. So yeah, it's a disastrous situation. So we have to strategize how to properly counter this, because it's getting worse, and it's like I said, it's like a social virus. It's spreading, like this kind of mindset. And the simp strategies aren't going to work. Trying to appease this is not going to work. What got us into this mess is simping. It's compassionate crap from these figures, from these simp imams. Like, that's what got us into this mess. Like, I'm not saying like we have to just be like belligerent, non-stop belligerents. No, but we just have to be like very clear about what Islam teaches and explain like the empirical reality, the difference between men and women, between males and females. And we have to put out our own material. I was thinking that, like, if we can be psyoped so easily, like, can't we psyop the feminists? Like, how can we psyop the feminists? Especially now that there's AI, like, you can produce AI videos. Like, why couldn't you produce, using AI, like 100 accounts of Muslim women, okay, who are talking about like, yeah, the patriarchy is great. Yeah, we need patriarchy. Yeah, this is something that is so important. Like, I'm so glad that in Islam I have to obey my husband and I have to help him and be a supporter of him by cooking and cleaning and raising kids. Like, why can't we put out our programming, like our message, our narrative? And we can use AI to do that. We can use different kinds of technology that's now available that's being used against us constantly. So this is something like that you can do. Like, this is something that the Muslims who are, you don't want yourself to be on social media. Okay, fine. But technology now allows you to produce things that can be posted. Okay, so what do you guys think? Any ideas? Any ideas for how this can be addressed before we move on? I'm looking at your comments now. Macmillan's disciple says the reformists and simp imams never mention secular deveiling campaigns in Central Asia, Iran, and the Balkans by secular governments. Yeah, they don't mention anything of that nature because ultimately they don't want to counter-signal secularism. They don't want to counter-signal secularism and liberalism because they don't want to get their travel restricted. Alpharet says, can any of these compassionate liberal Muslims even cook and make shawarma? Doubtful. Lord Meisland says, women should have husband-approved phone time only. Ideally, but at this point, like, the legal system is on her side. She'll just claim that you're abusing her, and she'll have a legal case. She'll have a legal case in court that you abused her. Like, this counts as abuse now. Like, you're restricting her freedom to access information. So you're gonna get divorce raped. Macmillan's disciple, could you address mosques parroting modern psychology and therapy in their talks and appealing to Rania Awad and feminist social workers, etc.? Yeah, we've had episodes in the past on Rania Awad specifically. Like, she's a complete fraud. Literally fabricated research results to promote her business. So she's like the worst kind of dishonest grifter, and she was caught doing it. She was caught and exposed, and she's still being promoted by these compassionate imams and the Dawah mafia. Like, Rania Awad is the most disgusting grifter that you can imagine. She wants to whine about, spiritual abuse in the community. Like, she's the biggest spiritual abuser that there is. She literally lied and claimed that, Muslims are committing suicide at twice the rate of non-Muslims. Even more than atheists. Muslims are offing themselves. Like, this was the claim that she made, and she claimed it was backed by scientific studies. Completely fabricated results. And she happens to have, her company is like providing mental health and specifically like training for imams on this issue of suicide. She provides the training and charges a hefty fee for that. And then she publishes this kind of fraudulent research. Like, it's just shocking levels of grift. So she's been exposed. But yeah, the bigger issue with modern psychology, so it has different areas. So parts of modern psychology are extremely problematic because they just reinforce liberal ideology. Other parts of modern psychology are interesting because of the empirical data that they show on human nature. Because the empirical data, like, for example, if you do a study on what people believe about God, like, what do people believe about God naturally? Like, when in terms of children, like, how do they develop their notion of God? Like, the liberal, if you look at a lot of liberal psychology prior to empirical research, they would say that they would just parrot like the kind of liberal ideological point that human beings are born as a blank slate. They don't actually have a belief in God or any kind of theology. That's actually imposed by parents. And parents indoctrinate their children to believe in one particular religion. If they're Christians, they indoctrinate their children to believe in Jesus. If they're Muslims, they indoctrinate their children to believe in Allah. That's what liberal psychology was about until it became more empirical, more survey-driven, looking beyond Western culture. And the empirical data shows that actually, no, there isn't. Children actually are born with a concept of God. They have a conception of a creator. They have a conception that the world is created for a purpose. Children aren't born as atheists. Naturally, that they have this kind of theology. And this is proven through empirical studies. We survey all these different cultures and we see what is actually the same across these cultures. If they're the same across multiple cultures, that means it can't be indoctrination. Because all these cultures differ, yet the children have the same beliefs. So this is something that is universal, therefore it must be biologically rooted. Just now, a lot of psychology that has become more empirically based, those results I think are important, they're interesting, and there are caveats, like you should not just accept whatever any random study says. But if you look at, but that doesn't mean that modern psychology is completely useless either. It's just how it's been weaponized. Like, a lot of modern psychology has been weaponized to attack traditional religion, obviously, and you have these Muslim psychologists like Rania Awad who just get on that bandwagon and do the same kind of attack. Lord or Macmillan's disciple, do the simp scholars evade the sociological reality of hijabi feminism by playing word games with the feminist label and things like white feminism? I don't know what that means. Muslim nonconformist, thanks for your super chat. Halal Zoomer, how's it going, bro? Thoughts on GTA 6 release, Grand Theft Auto? Not really. I saw that there were leaks that they're leaking the game, and people were disappointed because the game, like, what is it, like, been 13 years since the last GTA, so people are expecting a lot more, and so they're disappointed by what they're seeing in the leaks. But yeah, I never played GTA. Maybe the second one I played in high school, like when I was in 9th grade or something, and just like at a friend's house. Like I never played it for an extended period of time. But yeah, so I'm not much into GTA. Yeah, open world games like GTA. I've played Spider-Man, the Spider-Man game, but never got, like, I didn't play like hours of it. I like, in terms of gaming, I like FPS and I like RTS. I really like RTS. I really like real-time strategy. And it's like you can play and it has a beginning point and an end point, and you finish like within a given amount of time. Whereas open world, like you have to dedicate hours, like to actually explore entire like ecosystem. So I just don't have as much time for that. But I can see why people like those kinds of games. Sneeko. Hey, Lily J fan here. She told me Islam is a feminist religion. Kindly take your misogynistic BS offline. Yeah, thanks, Sneeko. Yeah, so Sneeko, do you think Lily J is a flower? Say women are flowers. Like, do you think she's a flower too? Okay. She's calling you out. She's calling you out, bro. Yeah, these feminists, like, it's just such a problem that we have to deal with. And all these institutions, like all these social media platforms cater to this. Like I don't know if there's like a bigger conspiracy, like they just know that empowering women is going to destroy society, like that's part of their plan, like to create as much social chaos as possible and destroy the birth rate and depopulate the planet. Like is it like an actual elite conspiracy? Why are they like so hell-bent on promoting feminism? Because you see other countries, you see China, they see the problems with feminism and they're curbing it. Like they are changing their social media algorithms, they're changing their media in general, like their movies and TV shows and this wider cultural practice, like their hiring practices to curb feminism, because they realize like this is a disaster. Like this is something that's going to destroy our country, our civilization. So the fact that they realize it, but like the people here don't realize it, like the elites here, the governments here don't realize it, or they realize it and they're not willing to do anything about it, it seems like that means that it's intentional. That's the implication. Eamon says, is uni still worthwhile, bro? Top G trial right now, by the way. Top G trial? What is that referring to? Are you referring to Andrew Tate, like Top Cheat? Uni in general, like it depends on what you're studying, what you're gonna major in. I actually can't give you a clear answer to that question because I don't know about what AI is gonna do to the job market in a year or two. I actually have this question. Like, is university still going to be worth it in 3 years, in 5 years? If you're going to go to like a top university, it's worth it. Like if you want to go to an elite college, you want to go to the Ivy League, you want to go to the elite universities, it's still worth it because of the kind of social mobility it gives you and the doors that it opens for you, the social networks that it gives you access to. So elite universities are still worth it, and probably still will be worth it for, you know, at least the next 5-10 years, if not longer. But other than that, like just vocationally, I can't give you a clear answer. It depends on, like, you haven't entered university yet. Parviz, thank you for your super chat. Abdu says, yo, W Sneeko in the chat. He's hilarious. Yeah, we always love to see Sneeko. Alpha says, Wallah, seeing the state of women brings so much sadness, like there is no hope. Yeah, it's really bad. It's really bad. Injama Dakar says, hi bro, this left's Somali feminism are going crazy. Their role model is Ilhan Omar. She's wearing hijab but promoting stupid Kumar agenda. What's a stupid Kumar agenda? Do people still like? I thought Somalis had abandoned Ilhan Omar. That's bad news. If there are Somalis that are still following Ilhan Omar, it's not good. Mesa says, feminists spewing kufr with soft music in the background. Hudhaifa says, pink Islam followers after reading 965-66. Is that like an axe? I don't know what that's referring to. What, from Surah Tawbah? What is that? Ayah. I want to know. Oh, this is the ayah about mocking. No, it's cut off. But it says, and if you ask them, they'll surely say, we are only conversing and playing. Say, is it Allah and His verses and the Messenger that you are mocking? Yeah, this is the kufr that I'm talking about. They're mocking Islam. They're mocking the rulings of Islam. So this is kufr, clearly kufr. Repeal the 19th. Yeah, if you're a Muslim, like, how can you support women voting? Like, it's crazy if you're a Muslim and you support women having the right to vote. Because, first of all, as a Muslim, supporting the idea of democracy, like, ideologically, like, that in itself is very problematic. That's different than, like, participating in a system that exists versus, like, what you consider to be the best system. Okay, because obviously Allah did not make a democratic system as how people should set up their governments. But if you believe, like, imagine tomorrow you're going to set up your own country and you want, as a Muslim, and you want to establish a government, what is that government going to look like? Is it going to just ape the Western system? Is it going to just ape and mimic the Western system of liberal democracy? Obviously not. So you're going to have some kind of khilafah, you're going to have some kind of Sharia rule, and that Sharia rule is not going to involve democracy in the first place. But let's say that you do, like, have some kind of system where you are going to have shura, consultation with others, like the ruler has to consult with, like, a council, a supreme council, let's say. It's going to have to consult with experts. Are you going to want an egalitarian system for that? Like, do you want the Supreme Council to consist of, like, 50% women and have their opinions? Like, no, obviously not. Like, that would be really bad. That would be really bad to have a Supreme Council that's just 50% women. Ideally, you wouldn't want any women to be on that Supreme Council. You just want men. And similarly, like having women vote, like you're just going to have a society that is dictated by the opinions of women, like the crazy opinions, the misinformed opinions of women. It's a disaster. Like you're going to destroy your society. So insofar as you have the 19th Amendment, you give women the right to vote, and then your society like is going to be demographically have more women who are empowered because of the educational system, because of affirmative action in the workplace. Women are going to be more powerful. They're going to have a greater voice, and they're going to vote for policies that are going to benefit themselves over others. It's going to be a disaster. In the same way as having a woman leader, having like a queen, having a woman leader is going to be a disaster. Yeah, so I don't understand Muslims who support women having the right to vote. It's contrary to the Sharia, or at least the spirit of the Sharia. Abdul Fattah says, may Allah reward your steadfastness and surgical precision on the haq, brotherly love from Montreal. Thank you, bro. Really appreciate your kind words and your super chat. Abdullah says, why aren't you more charitable? To Lily J, wondering if a specific Christian goes to heaven in Islam. We don't know that for sure. She quoted the Quran, which gives conditions under which it's possible. No, she didn't. Like, Lily J did not quote the Quran saying that it's possible for a Christian to go to heaven. That's not what she quoted. And the problem with Lily J is that she doesn't care what others are telling her, correcting her. She just lashes out. She lashes out, and it's not like the first time she's been critiqued or she's been warned. Like, people were gentle, they were charitable with her, but she's been Muslim for over 2 years now, okay? And the gentle reminders haven't worked. The gentle correction hasn't worked. So now it's the blasting time. Now is time to blast her, to mock her, to destroy her reputation. Like, that's the stage of the game we are at. Okay, the gentle advice, okay, the gentle reminder, that already happened, brah. We already gave her the gentle advice. She didn't pay attention. She thinks she knows better. Okay, so now is the time to just humiliate her and mock her. Okay, and that's not just my role. That's every Muslim's role, men and women. Okay, the deen is not a game. The deen, the religion, is not a game. Any Tom, Dick, and Harry can come and give their nonsense explanation or nonsense take on the Quran and Hadith. We don't allow that. We don't allow that. Islam, we're not like Christians, okay? We're not like Christians where any random person can come and become a preacher or, you know, open their church and start bloviating about Jesus Christ. We're not like that. We actually have standards. That's why Islam has been preserved. Okay, if you want to start changing that, if you want to start following the path of the Jews and the Christians to allow the religion to get distorted, then, you know, use kid gloves with these feminists, with these online influencers. Someone is a Christian, they've heard about the Prophet ﷺ, they've heard about Islam, and they reject it, and they die. They're going to go to the fire. This is what the Prophet ﷺ said in a clear-cut Sahih Hadith. So anyone who rejects that, and this is the message of the Quran as well, anyone who rejects that, they have, this is an act of kufr. This is an act of kufr. I'm not saying that Lily J is a kafir. I'm not takfiring her, but what she was promoting, okay, this is a kufr idea, that you can be a Christian and you rejected Islam, and Allah forgives you for that. This is something explicitly rejected in the Quran and in the words of the Prophet ﷺ. Sorry, we need to stop simping. Days says, some of these Muslimat are agents spreading lies and fisk on social media, especially those doing sport content on Instagram. I'm not even aware of this genre, sports content. They're like, are they commenting on football or something? Basketball? Like, I don't know. Like, or they're like participating in sports. Yeah, that's a big L, by the way. Like, women in sports in general, like, this is a big L. Yeah, it's fine at a certain age, like you're really young, like young girls, and you do sports, like keep active, okay. As long as it's like not mixed. But these older women, like, privately, yeah, go privately, practice some kind of sport, maybe. Okay, as long as it's not like a manly sport like you're kickboxing. But yeah, it's cringe to record yourself and upload it for guys to see, like, and they're always breaking stereotypes. Oh, I have a hijab, quote unquote hijab. It's like a scarf, loosely wrapped scarf. I'm breaking stereotypes, guys, because I can dribble a basketball. I can kick a ball, so I'm breaking stereotypes. Bozu says, majority of consumers in debt are women. The elite want single women working. Half of working age women will be single and childless by 2030. Investment bank Morgan Stanley elite are doing research. Yeah, it's lucrative. Single women are lucrative. And they're like the worst consumers too, because a lot of women, they have been paid for their entire lives. Like, they have been taken care of by their fathers, then their brothers. As soon as they become single, okay, and they're living on their own, they're not very responsible with money. Start spending on a lot of frivolous things. Akeem says, and they're telling us that we are asserting dominance. Seems to be the other way around. Gaslighters. Yeah, Muslim men need to assert dominance. That's what's gotten into this mess. Like, we're in this mess because the simps, a lot of these fathers, they didn't assert dominance. Like, I'll give you an example of like one of these simp fathers. Okay, just give me a second. I posted this on Telegram, but I know that not all of you are on Telegram. If you're not, you should subscribe to my Telegram channel. I posted this. Like, this is an Instagram story. Yeah, this is a good example of why we're in our current situation. Like, the problem is Muslim men. Okay, simps. Look at this trash. Yeah, this is from Instagram. Okay, this things my brown dad texts and emails me when I'm already having a bad day. Okay, so this is Muslim dad. Okay, he has this daughter graduating from university. Okay, so she posts his text messages on Instagram to mock him. Okay, and he deserves to be mocked. Okay, but not for the reason that she thinks. Okay, so she posts these texts. What are these texts? Okay, a few fatherly advice. Okay, this is from the dad. Before you start a new milestone in your life, okay, she's going to work. She has this job now, okay, in the corporate world. Don't try to look spicy at work. You shall attract some unfaithful people. If someone likes you, he will accept you regardless. Just so you know, Allah has given you a natural beauty and attraction. You don't even need to worry about how you look. Buy and wear decent outfits, focus on your assignments, and try to build a good work team. Your goal is to become an expert sustainable architectural engineer. See you soon. This is what her dad is saying to her as advice as she goes into the corporate world. Like, don't dress like a slut, basically. Don't dress like a prostitute. Please. Allah has given you natural beauty. Imagine this Muslim dad. Okay. It's nice, very clean beard, looking proud, you know. Standing next to, posing for the photo on graduation day of his prostitute daughter. Okay, and then this is how he talks to her. And then here's another text. So then there's actually another here. I didn't even show you the. Let me show you this one. I hope you're doing well today. All right. I hope you're doing well today. Today I searched the net and called my insurance to find out more about Linzess. It's a new brand, okay, of drug. Basically, he wrote an email telling her to stop drinking alcohol. Because she's like an alcoholic. And it's causing her health problems. So they go to the doctor. She's like in her early 20s and already like suffering some kind of liver problem because how much she drinks. And the Muslim father is like, oh, honey, maybe don't drink so much. Maybe don't drink. I think it's going to cause a lot of problems. Maybe, honey, you shouldn't be drinking. 10-page email to tell me I'm an alcoholic. And then she rewards the compassion of her father. Okay, she rewards him by mocking him, posting his messages, his private messages on Instagram. Okay, so should you feel sorry for this father? Like, should you feel empathy? Okay, he looks like he's South Asian. Okay, it looks like he's South Asian. Maybe he had a American wife. Like, should you feel sorry for him? The thing is that his behavior now, okay, he has no choice. Okay, he has no choice other than to talk to his daughter like this. Okay, he has no choice, but it's because of decisions that he made earlier in life, raising her, that has led him to this point where he has to basically beg his daughter to just like not be a prostitute, like not whore herself out, not to be a raging alcoholic. Like he has to beg at this stage in life because of choices that he made earlier in life. Bad choices. Okay, choices like putting her in school to mingle and mix with a bunch of boys, with a bunch of non-Muslim women, non-Muslim girls who are going to indoctrinate her with all of these bad lifestyle choices. Okay? That was the first mistake. That's usually the prime mistake, is that you send your daughter, or your son for that matter, to be in these public schools, or even some of these private schools, or some of these Islamic schools where the kids are basically Americans going through an American curriculum. There's unfortunately not much difference with majority of these Islamic schools and just regular public school at this point. So that's the first mistake. Like, you made that choice, and that's such a disastrous choice that everything else follows. And these fathers, unfortunately, they teach their daughters to be empowered, to be career women, Like, you need to go to school, you need to get educated, and then get a job, maybe go get a PhD. Like, that mindset is coming from these dads, these simp fathers, and they're Muslims. That's the disaster. So when you raise your daughter like that, instead of raising your daughter with Islamic values, with the values that the Quran and Sunnah want your children to have, like, you should be looking forward to being a wife and a mother. You should learn how to cook and clean and be nurturing. You should learn how to be a loving and supportive and obedient wife. That is your goal. Like, that's what's going to bring you success in this life and the next. Not going and getting some degree and then whoring it up in corporate America. Like, that's not what's going to bring you success, actually, in this life and the next. Instead of teaching them the correct Islamic values, they've been sending them to these schools to have these schools teach them what it means to be a successful woman. So are you surprised at the result? You're like, if you're a father now and you're sending your daughter to these schools, here's your future. Hate to break it to you, but this is your future. Take a good look. You're going to be sending these messages very soon, actually. You're going to be sending these messages soon, telling your daughter, yeah, maybe you want to, like, maybe not show your body online or in the workplace. Like, maybe you don't want to be on OnlyFans. Like, Allah is giving you a natural attraction. Don't be on OnlyFans. Don't be whoring it up at your corporate job, please. Don't be like the meat that everyone passes around in school and in college and then in the corporate world. Like, these are the messages that you're going to be sending soon. Take a good look at your future. Okay? You're going to... Oh, then this really made me angry. Look at what he said here. The holy book of Quran, this is the dad again, stated equal stats to men and women. Tyrants and power seekers in Afghanistan are committing crimes, oppressing innocent women in the name of religion. Well, can't do that very long, as history will repeat by itself. They will be removed someday, like Hitler. Hitler, Saddam Hussein, and Gaddafi. You have a real concern about how Taliban are treating women. No worries. It's just a matter of time. Okay, so the dad, look, the dad is learning how to be compassionate from the compassionate imams. And the compassionate imams obviously hate the Taliban. They hate, any kind of patriarchal culture. They basically hate the Sharia, okay? Or they have deluded themselves into thinking that the Sharia is feminism, or like Lily J saying that Islam is the best feminism. Okay, they've deluded themselves, and the dad is learning from that, has learned from that, and is now conveying it to his daughter. Like, no, the Taliban is Hitler. The Taliban is Hitler. It's got to be flushed down the toilet of history. So this is it's like hell on earth, like, to have a daughter like this. I don't know how these people can live. How can they live with themselves? She's like an alcoholic suffering health problems because she can't put down the booze. That's another big problem. Like, in American culture generally, like, surveys show that a lot of youth just become addicted to alcohol. They're either on weed, they're like potheads, or they're just drinking themselves to oblivion. And I bet you she's on a ton of antidepressants as well. Like, she probably has a therapist. So anyway. Okay, the rest of your super chats I'll read later on in the show. I also want to react to some other material that's relevant. Actually, we're talking about Afghanistan. This is a video that came in my feed. Like another W coming from Afghanistan.
It's the divorce issue involving an 18-year-old woman. To protect her identity, we have had someone else voice her words.
کتازو 8 ماه رو تیر کردم مثل از که در دوزخ زندگی کرده باشم.
شما میخوایی که زندگی پاش جور کنی؟
نه خیر هیچ وقت نمیخوایم زندگیم با انسانی که
نه یاری چرا کم شوا؟ رای حلش
هم است که به اعدام هم آماده هستم اما خودم نمیخوایم امروز زندگیم نمیخوایم بکنم.
که زندگی نمیکنی بس موضوع خودمه.
خودم نمیکنم ولی صاحب چرا؟
Alright, so she's if you didn't read or you can't read the subtitles, it says that she 18 years old, she was married for 8 months. She's coming to the judge in Afghanistan saying, I don't want to live with him anymore. I want to be separated. I'd rather be executed than have to live with such a husband, she says. Okay, then the Qadi, this judge, is saying, well, okay, we can do khuda. We can do khuda, and that requires you returning the mahar, basically, or returning some kind of compensation. Like, is that something that you want to propose?
نمیخوایم امروز زندگیم نمیخوایم بکنم.
که زندگی نمیکنی بس موضوع خودمه.
خودم نمیکنم ولی صاحب چرا خلا بکنم؟ اما چیزم از طرف از اون میشه باز من خلا بکنم؟
مولی صاحب
Says no, I'm not gonna do a khuda. She's willing to be executed, but she's not gonna give up some money. She's not gonna give up some money to get the divorce. Okay, she wants to just keep the money. She wants to get the mahar, okay, the dowry from him, and then she just wants to leave. She just wants to exit the marriage.
Sharia, if a woman initiates divorce, she may have to repay the dowry her husband gave her.
خوب سنجش بکن که صبح که ما جدا شویم مرا کی میگیره یا نه. باید بسیار چیزا زیر پای کنیم. صبح یقینا شما بدنام میشی. صبح شما به عزت میشی.
ولی صاحب
So this official is saying, like, he's trying to talk her out of it. He's saying, like, think about, you know, when you're divorced, like, it's going to be so much harder to get married. And when you try to remarry, you're going to have to make a lot of sacrifices. Like, you're not going to, as a divorcee, you're basically damaged goods in a certain sense. So you're not going to be in the prime position that you were for the first marriage. So think about that. Like, is this really something that you want to do?
که من داشتم عزتی که من داشتم هم برای این مرد از مرا بوده.
I'm astonished by what I just witnessed. This brave woman knows her rights, and it's making it difficult for the governor.
زن که هست بیعکلس ناقص العقلس چه نمی‌فهمه.
Women are mindless. They're deficient in intellect. They don't know a thing. True. Very true. So, yeah, the governor is trying to talk some sense into this woman. Did we hear, you know, she's doing all this complaining about her husband. Did she actually mention what's wrong? Like, why do you want to leave the marriage? Like, he's mistreating you. In what way? Okay, can you actually explain that? How is he mistreating you? And in many of these cases, there is no mistreatment. They just have to whine and complain and cry tears because there's not an actual tangible thing that they can point to about rights that have been violated by him, by her husband. Because if he has violated her rights, for example, by not paying for her to live and eat, not paying for her to like have the necessities of life, okay, that is a reason, that's a legitimate reason in the Sharia that the divorce or that the marriage can be annulled. Okay, it's called fasakh. Even if the husband wants to stay married, but he's violating her Islamic rights, a judge or a governor can come and annul the marriage. This is called fasakh. But it has to be a legitimate reason. It has to be a legitimate Sharia reason. Or like this husband is coming and he is like physically abusing her such that she is getting, has bodily harm, like actual bodily harm. And there are cases like this where a woman is getting punched in the face, she's bleeding from the head, she might have some brain damage or any kind of abuse like that, bones are being broken. Okay, this is legitimate grounds for a divorce, okay, imposed divorce or annulment of the marriage. But if there's no abuse, okay, there's no legitimate reason, like abuse as defined by the Sharia, not abuse as defined by feminists. If there is none of that, then you have no grounds for divorce. You have no grounds for annulment. And just because you feel a certain way, just because you feel that you want out of the marriage on a particular day, that doesn't entitle you to be given a divorce. And this is something that every Muslim should understand. And I've been preaching this for years now because there's so much misinformation that has been spread by these compassionate imams. They claim that, oh, in Islam, women can get divorced from men. It's called a khula. And they give this impression that there's equal right to divorce in Islam. A man issues a talaq and a woman issues a khula. And it's equal right to divorce. False. There is no equal right to divorce in Islam. Men have the right to divorce. Women only have the right to request divorce. Okay? A man can divorce his wife for any reason. He can divorce his wife for any reason. He just feels like it. He can divorce her. Okay? That Islam has given him that right. He just pronounces talaq. A woman doesn't have that right. A woman does not have that right in Islam. She can only request a divorce. It's called khula, and she has to offer the mahar or something other than the mahar. She basically says, will you please divorce me and I'll return the mahar. And then the husband, can say yes or no. Say, no, actually, I don't want to divorce you. He has the right. The only time that his opinion doesn't matter is if he is actually violating her Islamic rights. And there's like a list of things that violate her rights. And one of them is not providing for her materially, not providing nafaqah, for example. Or like damaging her physically, like harming her physically. But other than that, okay, she doesn't have a right to divorce in Islam. And that's the way Allah has deliberately created or deliberately legislated an unequal system. An unequal system where men have more latitude than the woman does. That's just the way Allah has legislated it. And it's out of His wisdom and due to the difference in nature of men and women that He has instituted these laws in Islam. The laws of divorce in Islam. But it violates equality. It violates this liberal notion of gender equality. And that's why the compassionate imams tried to reform it. That's why all of these simps are losing their minds about the Taliban actually enforcing the Sharia as it's meant to be enforced. Like, they're losing their minds because they're liberals. They're feminists. They're simps. But in Islam, there isn't equality when it comes to divorce. Men have a right that women simply do not have. And there's no difference in any of the madhahib. There is literally not a single scholar prior to the modern period, prior to colonialism and the colonial reform of Islam. There's not one single scholar who ever said that a woman has a right to divorce her husband unilaterally without his agreement. There's literally not a single scholar, not a single madhab who has allowed this. There's just one opinion that's misattributed to Ibn Taymiyyah. And I looked it up. I did research on this, and they are misinterpreting it. They say, no. Ibn Taymiyyah said that a woman can divorce her husband just if she doesn't like him. If she doesn't like her husband, she can unilaterally divorce, and he has no choice but to accept that divorce. Ibn Taymiyyah said it. False. Ibn Taymiyyah never said this. In fact, Ibn Taymiyyah says the opposite. Okay, this is a misattributed quote that they find in another Hanbali scholar's text. And the text, when you actually go back and read it, it doesn't say that. It doesn't say that Ibn Taymiyyah said that a woman can just divorce without the consent of her husband. The text is, granted, the text is a little bit ambiguous, but the clear interpretation of that text, this Hanbali fiqh text, is that if the husband has violated her rights, then his consent is not necessary. Then his approval is not necessary. If her rights have been violated, no scholar, okay, I can say this very confidently, no scholar, no madhab has ever said that a woman has a unilateral right to divorce her husband without his consent, without his approval. No one. It literally does not exist. Everyone says the opposite. Everyone says that no, she has to get permission. Okay? For a khula. Khula requires his approval. And anyone who tells you otherwise is confused, is ignorant, or is deliberately like misinterpreting the texts. That's the reality. And it's a shame that you have to hear it from me. Okay, you can't hear it more clearly stated than that from these other imams. I've had to go to bat. Like I've had to like debate this point so many times, and people are, because there's so much misinformation that's being spread by compassionate imams who have distorted the deen. But yeah, the Taliban is correct on this. Okay, now another thing I want to react to with you. Abdul. This went viral, this slop. Okay, he's being interviewed by Fox News. And the Fox News interviewer is just destroying him. Like, that's what's so sad. He's getting destroyed by Fox News.
And sex changes for minors. Do you support that? Look, you know, I remember.
Okay, if someone comes to you and says sex change for minors, do you support that? If the first word out of your mouth is not no, then you've completely lost the plot. Like, you've been completely discredited. If the first word out of your mouth is not no, a clear, unambiguous no, you've lost the debate. You've lost in 2026. Like, maybe in 2018, okay, or 2019 or 2020, at the peak of woke, that could have been acceptable to have that position or to be ambiguous about that position, but not in 2026. We're in a post-woke era, okay? The top liberal Democrats like AOC and even Mamdani, okay, have disavowed the excesses of woke. But Abdul here says, look, like he supports sex change operations for children.
Remember having great conversations with my conservative friends about right to try legislation. The idea that the government shouldn't tell you what kind of health care you should have. I just think the government shouldn't tell you what kind of health care you should have. And if you're a minor, you want to try on kids? Now, if you disagree with that, if you disagree that healthcare decisions need to be made by a doctor and their parents and a patient, then we think we agree to disagree. But, you know, you want to put government inside
so, Abdul, you're a doctor, right?
Selectively. I am.
So you think it's okay for a parent to slash his kid's thing-a-ling off? You think that's okay?
I mean, do you really want to have this conversation? Are you circumcised?
Yeah, but I mean, that's a
Jesse,
personal question.
Okay,
doctor.
So you probably should want to move on.
Is circumcision's different than castration?
I think it's a problem. It's a problem that you think that you get to decide what happens between a parent, a doctor, and a patient. And I'm just saying that, yes, circumcision is surgery on a kid's ding-a-ling. So if you really want to bring that up, you can. I just think you guys are really selective about how you want to talk about these things.
Abdul, Michigan's not going for that. That is sick stuff. Boys playing in girls' sports.
I'm not advocating anything. I'm just saying.
What about that?
So the question, so again, like, Jesse, you have not asked me one time about the issues that people actually care about in Michigan.
What a train wreck. What a train wreck. By the way, Abdul here, okay, pro-sex change operations for children, who equates circumcision, okay, something that we know is either required in Islam or highly recommended in Islam, male circumcision, he's equating that with transgender sex change operations for children. I was told that we have to support Abdul. I was told that we have to support Abdul. And this is the kind of position that he has on such a clear cut. And then that's what makes it extra disgusting and vile, is the equation of something so satanic, like sex change operation, castration for children, with circumcision. We're supposed to support someone like this and say, oh, he's our Muslim candidate. This is disgusting. This is disgusting. And he's going to be speaking at ISNA, by the way, this year's ISNA convention. He's, as I predicted, he's going to be an honored keynote speaker at ISNA. And, all these libtard Muslims are going to be cheering their heads off for that. But, the compassionate imams who are going to be speaking at ISNA, they should be asked if they also agree with sex change operation for children. They should be asked, because that's what Abdul is promoting. He's promoting it, and he's trying to make it like a healthcare question. Like, this is something important. Like, there are some people who are saying, oh, but Daniel, this is like a cultural war issue. No one cares about this. Yeah, people care about this. People definitely care about this, and they should care about this. They absolutely should care about this, because what has happened, this is not like a fictional scenario. What has happened is, in some of these liberal states that have already gone really far off in the deep end, they have, the LGBT curriculum for kindergartners starting at, 5 years old, 6 years old. They're telling kids that, well, you can have gender fluidity. You don't know if you're a boy or a girl. That's something to be explored. Your gender is something that can be explored. It can be changed. It's malleable. It's fluid. And you have the social workers or school administration, also libtards, who are indoctrinating these children. And some of them start to believe that they're a different gender. And then they go to their parents and they say, look, I'm actually not a boy. I'm a girl. And the state actually empowers those minors to be able to undergo sex change operations, or to be given hormone blockers, to be given this kind of chemical castration. That's their chosen identity. And you, as a parent, if you don't approve, like one parent just has to approve, or even no parent needs to approve, they will get that treatment. That's a healthcare decision that the minor has made. Or you have some of these liberal parents who make that decision. Like, oh, my son is actually my daughter. And there have been cases where single moms have made that decision, chemically castrating their son, and the father, the divorced father, can't intervene to stop it, because this is a healthcare decision that the mom, who has primary custody, has made. These cases have happened. And it's led to a legal battle where the father ultimately loses. That's what Abdul also supports. So imagine that. Imagine like that. This is satanic. And the thing is that this is what's the term for it? It's like an issue where your position might not like ultimately have a big effect on the populace, but it signals like a deeper, like your deeper commitments, like your deeper ideological orientation. Like when someone like Abdul comes out and says, yeah, I'm in support of sex change operations for minors, as long as they decide that with their parents, that signals his deeper commitments. It basically signals that he is a complete shill of this kind of democratic, progressive politics, like that kind of entire globo homo agenda. Like he is a slave to that. That's what he's signaling. And that's why you can make a judgment about him. Like, I don't need to actually wait and see how much he's going to betray like Palestinians, the Muslim cause, Islam. I don't need to wait to see that. I can already tell. I can now already with high confidence tell you that he's a shill, that he is not going to help any Muslim. He's not going to be a net positive for any Muslim cause, because he's already revealing that he's sold out. He's already revealing that. He's going to, just in the same way that Ilhan Omar has done, Sadiq Khan has done, Rashida Tlaib has done, Keith Ellison has done, Zohran Mamdani has done, like all of them, they signal that, yeah, I'm bought. I'm bought, I'm paid for, I'm a shill. They signal it with these kinds of banner positions, like going to the LGBT pride parade. Like, you basically signal that you're a shill. They're signaling that to these elite factions that are going to allow them to run in an election in the first place, in one of these major elections in the first place. They're signaling that, yeah, I'm here to play ball. I'm here to sell out my religion, sell out my identity. I'll be the token brown person for your party. That's what's being signaled. So can you read the signals? Like, why are so many Muslims have no ability to read these very clear-cut signals that they're giving? Like, he's basically shouting from the rooftops that he is bought and paid for. And specifically when it comes to, like, this issue of sex change operations for minors, what he was asked about, like, this is deeply unpopular in America, like, even amongst Democrats. So for people who are saying that, oh, Abdul can't take a harder stance on Israel, and he can't have a more positive stance on Iran or the Palestinian resistance, it's because he has to play the game. He has to be pragmatic. Well, explain this. Like, it's not pragmatic to have a pro-sex change operation for minors position. It's not pragmatic. He's not going to win extra votes for this. And the Democratic Party, like I said, they've moved away from hardcore woke. To be part of the Democratic Party, you don't need to be pro-sex change operation for children. So why is he taking, like, this kind of very principled ideological stance on that issue? It's like a deeply unpopular position to take on both sides of the aisle. Where's the pragmatism there? It seems like he's ideological when it comes to castration for little boys. He's a purist on that. But if it comes to any kind of Muslim cause, then he has to be pragmatic. When it comes to the Palestinians, he has to be pragmatic. Anyway, yeah, I'm vindicated. I'm fully vindicated on this loser. Here's another funny report that came out from the Wall Street Journal. Like, it's a longer video on YouTube. Funny to check it out, but it's like about NEOM, the multi-billion-dollar city. Like, this is just about Saudi excellence. The Saudi monarchy, their excellence. This is just a love letter to their competence.
NEOM was the centerpiece of the ambitious plan to pivot Saudi Arabia away from oil. We've talked to numerous former employees. We've looked at satellite images. We've looked at internal financial documents. It's all to find out how and why the world's largest construction project has collapsed. The centerpiece of NEOM became the line. It had over 7 billion square feet. That is more than the combined square footage of every single building in New York City. And it would have 9 million people. MBS wanted this to be like nothing the world had ever seen before. What we understand from multiple people familiar with the matter is...
Do you see the video? So if you watch the whole video, they said that MBS wanted zero G, gravity defying. He wanted people to be floating in this city.
The world had ever seen before.
Do you see that? Like, this person is like floating out the window.
What?
Like, that's the mindset of MBS. It's like a child's brain. It's like he has a 6-year-old's brain. Like, can we make the city be 0 G like I see in the movies? Like, that people can float. And that's why these architects and these consultants, like, they made the video, like, to realize the vision. Like, oh yeah, we're gonna make this a floating city, 0 gravity. Yeah, just give us another few $1 billion. We can really do it.
We understand from multiple people familiar with the matter is that the country has spent well over $50 billion on NEOM now and will spend many billions more simply winding down the project. So, how did we get here? In the beginning, to craft what NEOM would be, they assembled a roster of top Western consultants and came up with an enormous number of ideas. We got access to a 2,000 plus page document that detailed all of these ideas. There's an artificial moon. There's written down an idea for Jurassic Park theme park.
If you saw Final Fantasy theme park. Final Fantasy theme park, Jurassic Park. So it's like a 6-year-old, like, this is a 6-year-old's conception of like a country's development, like a developmental project.
Starting late last year, NEOM began canceling the contracts of many of the projects that were underway. You can see in the latest satellite images that they actually had done a ton of work. And then late last year, that work just stopped. The basic structural problem at NEOM was what we've referred to in the past as a dance of mutual delusion. It was a project where truth simply couldn't be told. MBS had fantastical views of what NEOM should be, but the people around him wouldn't tell him it was impossible.
Wait, you're telling me that zero gravity floating through a city that has just a series of theme parks is impossible? You're telling me that won't work? So yeah, they can't tell him, hey, retard, like, why are you wasting all this money on just this stupid fantasy project in the desert? Like, this is a stupid idea, waste of money. They can't say that because that's criticizing the ruler. That's criticizing the ruler. That's contrary to the correct aqidah, guys. That's contrary. The Wahhabis will tell you that's contrary to the correct aqidah. You can't tell the ruler that he's a retard and that his Final Fantasy theme park is a delusion. Like, you can't tell him that. You have to just say, yes, yes, sir, yes, master. Let's spend another $1 billion. Let's spend $1 billion to, develop a ski resort in the desert. What a waste of money. Like, they really are just Bedouins. Like, the Prophet ﷺ was absolutely correct in his prophecy that this is what, Arabia would turn into, is just a bunch of barefoot Bedouins competing with each other and making buildings, taller and taller buildings. And the Prophet ﷺ, called them barefoot Bedouins, like that, to call them idiots, basically. These are idiots. These are fools. They have all the worst qualities of these Bedouins that were even in the time of the Prophet ﷺ. And the problem with Bedouins is that they're stupid, they're arrogant. You can't tell them anything, okay, because of their arrogance. They're gruff, they're violent, they're irrational. And yeah, this is, so billions, 50 billion, okay, that's probably an underestimate, spent. Like, these Western companies come and just grift off of the delusions, collect those billions, and then it's just a waste, just a complete waste. But oh, Saudi.
NEOM was the centerpiece.
NEOM. What else? Oh, did you hear about this? Mossad Chief meets the Syrian foreign minister in effort to diffuse tensions after airstrike. So I talked about this a little bit a couple of weeks ago, that Israel was bombing air bases in Syria. And so now the Syrian foreign minister is continuing to meet with Mossad, having meetings, and the reports of the meetings are like, yeah, they agree. Basically, Mossad, Israeli intelligence, is telling Syria, hey, we're gonna keep the Golan Heights, and we're gonna keep the buffer zone in southern Syria. We're basically expanded the buffer zone all the way to Damascus. That's all ours now. All of that territory is ours, and you better not violate it. And we won't bomb you. We won't bomb you. And then Goilani and Shaybani, like the foreign minister, are like, yes, sir. Yes, master. Anything you want, Israel, Netanyahu. Syria has just become a humiliation ritual, unfortunately. you know. And you have the free Syria tards who are in delusion after delusion. If you say anything like, hey guys, maybe it's not such a good idea for our government to be working with Mossad and taking orders from Mossad. Like, maybe it's not a good idea to have like these defensive agreements with Israel, a country that has very openly said that they want to just take over Syrian territory. Maybe it's not a good idea to be in bed with them. If you even suggest that, any kind of slightest criticism of Guilani, they'll just say, oh, you're Shia, you're Rafida. You're Shia, Rafida, Iranian agent, Iranian shill. You can't talk to these people. You can't like have any kind of reasonable discussion with these people. Like, they're just unhinged. And yeah, and it doesn't matter what they do. Like, literally, Guilani could go and kiss Netanyahu's boots, lick his boots, and they would defend that. They would give a justification for that. Like, oh, this is 5D chess. This is 5D chess from Guilani, the new Salahuddin, who's going to liberate Syria. Yeah, okay. I'm sure. So, I mean, it's gotten to a point where what else can be said? Like, we just have to, again, vindicated. I've been vindicated on this. Like, it became apparent that I was vindicated on Syria basically 3 months after the revolution, the blessed revolution. I was vindicated pretty early on, but it just gets worse and worse. Like, so it's basically they have normalized relations with Israel. It's like the Abraham Accords in all but name. And that's exactly what I said would happen. So, sad situation. And then the final clip that I want to react to, I came across this. So, remember last week, Ali Dawah once again was accusing me of shirk, accusing me of violating Tawheed. Okay, and this is what I came across today, actually. So, Ali Dawah in this interview.
There is nothing. Ashhadu, to bear, I bear witness.
Sorry, it's a little too loud.
Bear witness. Yep. But it also has.
Do you catch that? Ashhadu, okay, the guy says Ashhadu. What does Ashhadu mean?
Ashhadu mean. There is nothing.
There's nothing? There's nothing? Ashhadu means there's nothing?
Ashhadu, to bear, I bear witness. Bear witness. Yep. But it also has.
This retard doesn't even know the shahada. This retard doesn't know the shahada. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, he thinks means there's nothing. There's nothing. He thought that it's like la ilaha illallah, there is no God other than Allah. Okay, but he thinks that ashhadu means that. There's nothing. Ashhadu means there's nothing. Doesn't know what shahada even means. You can ask him, like, what does shahada literally mean? You wouldn't be able to know. It means bear witness. I bear witness, you fool. You fool. So this is the guy who's lecturing us on what's Tawheed. He doesn't even know what the shahada means. Can't even translate that.
Ashhadu mean. There is nothing.
There's nothing? I'm telling you guys. So people were upset at me. They're like, oh, you're so mean. You're so mean to Ali Dawah. Like, you shouldn't mock him. You shouldn't mock Ali Dawah. You shouldn't say that he has like double-digit IQ. Look, you know, if Ali Dawah wasn't going around like backing up Lily J with her KUFR, like defending her on her statements of KUFR, if he wasn't going around like supporting these Wahhabis, creating like this kind of division in the Ummah at such a critical time in the history of the Ummah, if he wasn't going around like attacking people and accusing them of shirk, okay, then you can be a retard in your little corner of the internet, okay? Ali Dawah, go be a retard in your corner of the internet and try to just do a little bit more positive than the negative you bring with your idiocy. But unfortunately, Ali Dawah is doing all of these things. He's spreading sectarianism. He is accusing people of shirk. He's accusing me of shirk. He is making these crazy blunders, okay, on Islam, on the basics of Islam. So he's a huge liability. He's a huge liability. And he's arrogant about it. He's arrogant about it, and he wants to pretend like he has some kind of authority to be telling people, oh, you are promoting shirk. You're promoting shirk. Oh, how dare you criticize Mufti Menk or Lily J or whoever. So, no, sorry. We don't have to tolerate that. We don't have to play nice with that. We can call that out. We should be calling that out. Okay, especially for someone who is accusing people of shirk and he doesn't know the shahada.
Shahadu mean? There is there is nothing. Ashhadu, to bear, I bear witness, bear witness. Yeah. But it also.
Is this like who's interviewing who here? Because I don't know who this guy is either, but he looks, the look on his face is hilarious. He's like so disappointed.
Yeah. But
it's like, oh, like mentally he's like, I'm dealing with a reader.
Yeah. But it
anyway. So yeah, that was funny. Ali Dawah. Okay, guys, let me look at the rest of your super chats. And then we'll go end the show for today. Muhammad Zaman says we should all write an apology to the Taliban. I just saw the BBC video on the Taliban governor and the divorce court. Yeah, you have to write an apology. I don't have to write an apology. I never went against them. I never counter-signaled them. I don't need to write an apology. And I really hope they stand strong on the issue of women's education, because they're going under a lot of pressure. I hope that they stand strong on that. Alpha says, with the Lindsay Clancy case, how does feminism fit into this? Fit into what? Like, unfortunately, yeah, she's being supported by all these feminists. You can literally kill your kids, kill your children, and you have an army of feminists who will raise $1 million for you. Muslim Boogeyman, how's it going, bro? What society rewards a woman who offed her own kids by making her a millionaire? Good question. And it's not clear if the judge, in the court case, if the jury is going to decide that she's actually innocent due to insanity. It's going to be a disaster. SA says, how can we advise our family members who have been influenced by feminism? It's very difficult and often results in arguments and making things worse. It depends on which family member. If it's like a daughter, then, you know, you have the ability, especially like the younger she is, to teach her the right things. If it's like an older family member or a wife, like, you just have to be more strategic, because the society that we live in has empowered women to such an extent that she can destroy your life if you counter signal feminism, potentially. So yeah, I would be very careful, depending on which family member it is, how you discuss feminism. But like, if it's your wife, like, yeah, just gently, because you don't want to get divorced. Like, all the laws are going to be on her side, and she can portray you as a misogynist, bigot, fundamentalist, Muslim terrorist. So you have to be very careful about how you address feminism with your wife. And you just have to, like, maybe you can share like Khalid videos. Like, Khalid is my wife. There are videos, or her Facebook page. Like, you can share that kind of material. Some women need to hear that anti-feminist talking points from a fellow woman. That helps. That can help a lot. They can take wife school. Alasna, like online wife school, is very effective in countering a lot of feminist propaganda, and that's a course that's taught by my wife, Khalid, and she explains things in a very effective way to counter feminism. So, but we're still developing strategies. Hakeem says, I meant in the sense that if we defend the practice our faith publicly, they will call it asserting dominance, but they try to assert their ideologies on us. Okay, thanks for the clarification. Feminism is rampant in the South Asian community. Yeah, basically the entire Middle East. I don't even think it's particularly South Asians. Iranians are the worst. Like, Iran as a society, unfortunately, has been ravaged by feminism. It's actually pretty depressing. Iran, the Arab countries are better, but they're falling down the same lizard hole too, actually, now. African countries are good, for the most part. They're better. A lot of the African countries, they're still more traditional. The women are still more traditional, not affected by feminism, but that's rapidly changing. That's rapidly changing, unfortunately. Hello, Zoomer. Trying to stir the pot. Thoughts on the epic female debaters, Cora and Itachi. What are my thoughts on them? Honestly, like, I'll be very honest, I haven't watched their debates. I haven't actually watched their debates. The only thing that I heard a lot about from people is that one of them or both of them debated a lot of Christian women. And I think that's fine. Like, debate Christian women if that's really something that needs to be done. But I don't approve of debating men. Like, Muslim women debating men, I don't approve of that. It's just the optics are really bad. Like, the optics are bad. It's kind of like a cucking of the Muslim community. Like, the men can't debate. We have to have our strong boss babes go and stand in front and debate the men. Debate like Christian men. I don't think that's necessary. Like, it's actually a net negative. So if they're going to debate women, fine. You know, I'm sure they can really do well in pointing out the contradictions in the Bible and how the Trinity is illogical. I'm sure they do a great job on that. Do it against other Christian women. Okay, make an infinity number of videos on that, debating Christian women. But when you start debating men, Christian men, then the optics of that are not good. And like I said in a previous, I think it was Halal Zoomer who asked me this before, my thoughts on women debating. He asked it like more generally without mentioning names. And then he like puts the clip with like one of their pictures. And then that resulted in takfir. Like, some of the people associated with these two, Cora and Itachi, like, they started takfiring me. They said Daniel is a kafir. So I got takfir thanks to you, Halal Zoomer. Appreciate that. Appreciate that, because I didn't mention them in my answer, but now you're forcing the issue. So, but now, like, I've said it openly, that when it comes to women in these aggressive debates, they're starting to imitate men, and that's something not allowed in Islam. Like, the Prophet ﷺ cursed the women who act like men and the men who act like women. Like, men who are more effeminate, they start like doing their nails. Like, have you seen this? Like, men who put nail polish on, like, it's really bizarre. Or they start like, I don't know, putting on makeup. I guess they're just following the looks maxing clavicular crowd. Like, they're starting to put on makeup. Like, these people are also cursed. Like, these men who imitate women are also cursed. But women imitating men by like trying to go, and that's also related to the sports content that people were asking about earlier. Like, the sports content, you're imitating men. Like, you're engaged in this kind of physical competitive activity, or this kind of aggressive brawling activity of debate. it's imitating the opposite gender, and that's not something that Islam approves of. I think it's pretty simple to understand. Sal says, defining themselves by their qualifications and occupation over Islam and being Muslim. I realized this from fellow Muslim doctors during COVID. Who is that referring to? I'm confused. Defining themselves. Who's defining themselves? Qualifications and occupation. Bozu says, the irony that our women respect us less because many dads have been simped and cucked to the modern Western lifestyle. Now they don't want to marry us. Yeah, it's a very sad irony. It starts with these fathers, honestly. These fathers think that, like, if you want to be a good dad and you want your dad to, if you want your daughter to love you as a father, then be a good father. Okay, be a good father and instill gender roles, like female gender roles. Don't try to turn your daughter into a son. Okay? Don't try to empower your daughter like she is your son. If you can do that, you'll be successful in raising your daughter. But unfortunately, you have these Muslim men who have some kind of inferiority complex. They want to empower their daughters, and they're worried about being misogynists. Right? They're worried about being misogynist. They're worried about being like the Taliban and being like Hitler. And so they want to make their daughters into strong boss babes and empower them. That's what leads to these disasters that we're seeing. Oh, I guess that's what Sal was referring to. Sal is saying the women are defining themselves, like these daughters are defining themselves by qualifications and occupation. Hamza Jadoon says, W. Daniel, appreciate it for the super chat, bro. Thank you so much. Simp, imams, muftis, ustads, and shaykhs. Agree with that. Adeyorto says, you mentioned your courses earlier in the live. Where can I find them? Also, any resources you recommend for the basics of Aqidah, Arabic preferred? The courses you can find in alesna.org. Someone in the chat can put the link. We have courses on feminism. We have courses on liberalism, on atheism. So you can take them. And we're going to revamp, inshallah. Next year, there'll be a lot of revamping done to the Institute, inshallah. Basics of Aqidah, Arabic preferred. You can go to the Institute created by Sheikh Hassan Al-Katani. He's based out of Morocco, and he has Aqidah courses, and they're Hanbali based. And they're Arabic. Like, he provides a lot of resources. So Sheikh Katani, I've interviewed him on the channel a couple of times, so he's a good resource. Alpha says, is this really the best Muslims can do for politics? Daniel, you should run. Wallah, you got my vote. Yeah, thanks, bro. But I'm not a politician. Ridwana says they've abandoned Bilal Abdul Karim. Yeah, poor Bilal, like he's in some dungeon in Syria. Goilani put him in prison, and without any charge, no news about his condition. It's very sad. Highlander says, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Genius of Islam 4, or we riot. That's all. Jazakallah khair. Yeah, I know, bro. Next year too. Hopefully I'll have more time with this book being finished to put out these projects that have been on hold for a while. Sino Evil says, your thoughts on Hadith, where of all things halal, Allah is most displeased with divorce, juxtaposed with with Shaitan, who is most pleased with it. Let's try our best. Yeah, divorce is something that is to be avoided. Like, it's to be avoided, and men naturally avoid divorce. This is something that I meant to mention when I was talking about like why Allah hasn't given women the right to divorce. It's because men have that right because they naturally don't want to get divorced. It's some kind of satanic influence to just want to get divorced for no reason. And there's actually another very important hadith where the Prophet ﷺ said that a woman who wants to divorce her husband for no legitimate reason will not even smell Jannah. Like, won't even come close to Jannah. That's how severe it is, like, to try to get out of a marriage for no reason, especially if you're a woman. For a man, it doesn't make sense. Like, for a man to want to get out of a marriage, it generally doesn't make sense unless the guy is a buffoon, unless he's like a emotional buffoon, and in which case he's going to be punished for that. He'll be punished for also trying to divorce his wife for no reason. Okay, for like a superficial reason or just out of emotion. And this is for like men who they issue like triple talaq. They just issue 3 divorces at the same time, an irrevocable divorce. And even the Sahaba considered such a man to be a fool. And the punishment for that is that once you do that, like you issue triple talaq, then your wife is irrevocably divorced from you. You can't get back with her. That is a disaster for you. That is a disaster for you as a man. And you're punished by the fact that your wife can't return back to you. That's your punishment, actually, for a triple talaq. And people like in India, I believe, in India, yeah, they issued some legislation to ban triple talaq, as if triple talaq is something good for men. Triple talaq is a punishment for men. Like the fact that it's irrevocable, that's actually a punishment for the man. That he can't return back to his wife. Because usually men who, out of anger, like that's usually why a man would issue divorce. They get angry for some reason and they say, I'm divorcing you, or you're divorced. It's like they cool off. They have a cool off period, and then they can get back together. Like they can get back together after a certain amount of time with their wife, and otherwise they would be regretful. Like, oh, I just lost my cool and I divorced my wife, and all of the money that I spent on her with the mahar, for example, or the money to maintain her, the nafaqah, that's all down the toilet now. That's all down the drain. So men have no incentive to divorce their wives. Like, why would you divorce your wife? Unless there's like some serious problem, like some serious problem has occurred, you would divorce your wife. In reality, like if, for whatever reason, if you want to pursue another woman for marriage, you can do that Islamically. Like you can go and pursue a second wife. So there's no reason to divorce your first wife. There's actually no incentive. There's only a loss if you divorce your wife. That's why men have been given that right. Whereas women, there are many reasons why she would want to divorce her husband for illegitimate reasons. Okay, again, it could be for emotional reasons, like she's just going through that time of the month, for example, or she has, for whatever emotional reason, she's angry, so she wants to divorce. She's been given a mahar, she's been given a dowry, so she can just off with that money. She's being given all this maintenance, this nafaqah. She can just go off with that. So there are many monetary reasons that she gains from divorce. Whereas the man, he only loses monetarily from divorce. Because he doesn't get the mahar back. He issues the talaq, he doesn't get the mahar back. That's gone. Okay? So that's I should have explained that better earlier when I was talking about the rights to divorce. Like there's a reason that Allah has balanced it out. Like it's balanced out why men have the right to divorce and women do not. I don't know if you understand that or if I explained that well. But yeah, illegitimate divorce, like that's bad, and you know that's something that's displeased, whether it's from a woman or from a man. But it's particularly bad from a woman. Have you seen, this is iHolkey says, have you seen any of the documentaries about the legal destruction of male spaces and male associations such as YMCA, Boy Scouts, unions, clubs, etc.? Yeah, all of these spaces have been destroyed by women, but men are getting their revenge now by claiming that they're trans women, and then going into the women's sports, going into the women's bathrooms. So men are getting their revenge now. So even the WNBA, like the women's basketball, professional basketball league, now there are men saying that, well, I identify as a woman. Like he has a beard. It's actually Enes Kanter. Have you heard of Enes Kanter? His name is Enes, but it's spelled with an E. Enes, he's Turkish. I don't like him because I think he's a Zionist. Okay, he's one of these Turkish secularists, and he's kind of crappy. He was not very good in the NBA either. I think he was with the Thunder. He played with the Thunder, or who else? He's passed around different teams in the NBA, and he's trying to. He's in the headlines because he wants to play for the WNBA. He says, "I identify as a woman now." So, if you say no, I can't play in the WNBA, that means you're transphobic. You're transphobic. So, let me play in the WNBA. Otherwise, you are a transphobe. That's Enes Kanter, the loser. But at least, you know, these women are getting what they deserve. You get what you expletive deserve, right? Uruk says, your last exchange with one guy on X who is worse than Ali Dawah, don't say his name if you remember. You wrote, stick to your lane, bro, and bro disappeared. I don't remember who that is. That's like I have exchanges like that on X every single day. So, be more specific. Anything else, guys, before I log off? Try to have a Haqiqat show that's less than 3 hours for this week. That'd be good. Anyway, what do you guys think of refuting TikTok feminism? If you guys think there needs to be more done, I can do it, inshallah. Like I said, we have like these TikTok single moms, like feminists. Some of them are ex-Muslims. Some of them look like Skeletor. Like, you guys know what Skeletor looks like? Yeah, looks maxing is a disaster. Like looks maxing and this plastic surgery, really bad. Alpha asks, any debates coming up? I'm doing that Sean Kelly debate format with like 1v10. I'm gonna be debating feminists actually, so that should be interesting. Gonna be debating a bunch of feminists. Looks maxing is makeup with extra steps. Yeah, I agree. You looking handsome tonight though, bro. Appreciate it. I'll take the compliments. I will take the compliments. Like, there's no makeup on this, you know. This is all natural. All natural, baby. Debate TikTok or delete TikTok. Don't use it. Literally leads to brain damage. Yeah, it does. Haircut tutorial when? You guys really want me to show you my secrets? Looks maxing by cutting your own hair. Yeah, this could be very useful, informative. Pause. Did I say something that required pause? Yeah. I'm wearing the no makeup. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, guys. Anyway, appreciate you guys. Thank you for all your messages, all the chat, and your compliments. I'll take compliments. It's always nice to be complimented, but you guys are the real chads. The Muslim skeptic watchers, you guys are the real chads. As far as like the Muslim online space goes, like your higher IQ, your chads IQ. Take care of your health, mashallah. So, W in the chat for the Muslim skeptic watchers, the Haqiqat show viewers. Really appreciate you guys. That's our show. Don't forget to subscribe to the newsletter. It is linked in the description below. Subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't already. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you think about these topics, what you want to see more of in future shows. I'll be back next week. In the meantime, continuing to edit the book, inshallah, and get closer to finishing it. So I'll be back starting next month for sure, September, on regular content posting. A lot of good stuff coming up that we have planned for you. And yeah, keep in touch in the comment section and on X. That's where I'm active. Subscribe to the Telegram as well. And we'll see you, inshallah, on the next episode, bi'idhnillah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.